Hello everyone, welcome to Lifespan Development Psych 7351. My name is Dr. Bernardo de la Garza and I will be your course instructor this summer for our course. I am very excited to teach this course. I'm a big fan of lifespan development. I've always enjoyed looking at different aspects associated with lifespan development in different areas of psychology. More specifically, my area of specialization is within the field of cognitive psychology, and my subspecialty is within the field of psycholinguistics. So I do a lot of research within the field of psychology of language. Now, with that being said, we will look at many different topics throughout the semester. Obviously, I will be the most excited whenever it is that we talk about anything cognitive and especially anything that relates to language. So whenever it is that we look at processes related to children and their language changes and their cognitive development, I will be especially happy. But we will definitely talk about everything that happens throughout the lifespan, all the way from conception all the way to death. So here, in terms of our course, what is it that we're going to be covering? We are going to be looking at a variety of different topics, such as the social development, the cognitive development, the physical development, and a lot of different factors that impact the individual's development throughout the lifespan. Now, this semester we are going to be using the Broderick and Bluton Lifespan Human Development for Helping Professionals textbook. I will be providing you with the first 4 chapters of our textbook, just so that way you make sure that you're able to get your hands on that textbook as soon as possible. Let that be that you may get a rental version of that book, or you may purchase that book through Amazon or through or through the university bookstore, whatever the case may be, but I will provide you with the first 4 chapters, which will be pretty good because I'll cover about 2 to 3 weeks worth of the course for you to be able to get your hands on that book. Now, in terms of the course, what are the specific outcomes that we have related to our course? Well, number one, we want to be able to have an appreciation for the importance of human growth and development as an integral component of the total counseling process. Number two, to learn and appreciate the uniqueness of each individual's development in views of his or her personal change processes. We also want to look at the development and apply a solid understanding of major theoretical principles of human growth and development, to develop and apply a solid understanding of research findings in the area of human development. Number 5, to develop an understanding of the progression of life from birth to death, seen as a process of change and a normative sequential development. Number 6, to examine the impact of families and other social groups on individual development and the individual's development on the family. And number 7, the integral knowledge of human development with the particular needs of vulnerable populations and to relate these needs to current social agencies, educational, and therapeutic practices. So pretty much what does it all mean? It means that we're going to look at the lifespan all the way from conception all the way until death and all these different factors that may potentially affect the individual's lifespan development or their development as a whole. So this semester, there's going to be a couple of ways that we're going to be able to earn points throughout the semester. Now, again, like I mentioned, we do have a very quick 8 weeks. Now, after I present to you all the introduction of the course syllabus, we're going to then move into talking about our very first topic. Now, what I will be doing each week is I will be providing mini lectures for you. So pretty much it's going to be a 5 to 10 minute lecture where I generally introduce the topic of conversation that we're going to be looking at for that specific week. Let that be for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, whatever the case may be. So for instance, let's say that we're going to talk about language development and what happens to the child from when they begin to babble all the way to when they speak their first words, right, when they're an infant. When we talk about that, I'm not going to have a lengthy lecture for you or anything like that, but rather what I'm going to have is I'm going to have about a 5 to 10 minute discussion that introduces the topic, some of the major issues that we want to look at in terms of concern, or also major theoretical issues that we want to be able to evaluate or that we always want to keep in mind whenever it is that we're reading our textbook and also following along with other materials that I may provide you. Let that be lecture notes or also an article or a video that I may want you to read, to view, or something along those particular lines. So here, it's not going to be anything that's going to be too cumbersome in terms of works, but it is going to be a good amount of time that you are going to be spending doing your proper readings for the course, and also making sure that you do complete any assignments that we do have and any other discussions that we may be engaged in throughout the semester. Now, with that being said, there are a couple of activities that we do want you all to be able to complete throughout the semester. The first part here is what we're going to call these what-if papers. There's going to be 2 what-if papers that I'm going to ask you all to be able to complete. Both papers are going to be between 2 to 3 pages in length, and I've also provided you with the specific due dates related to each one of those submissions. Now, what are these what if papers? Now, each one of these papers is going to be worth 20% of your final grade, and these what if papers are going to be two of them. The first one's going to look at your infancy. Let that be early childhood, infancy, middle childhood, whatever it is that you choose in terms of what specific time frame that you want to evaluate. And I want you to be able to select a specific event or a specific major milestone during that time period related to a psychological theory or concept that we've been covering up to that point, and then discuss how your life would be different if that event or milestone had had a different outcome or had varied in some way. So this is a completely imaginative situation of what if you had not met object permanence, for instance, or what if you would have not had appropriate linguistic input being provided for you that didn't allow you to be able to develop your own language. What could have been the potential outcome at a later point in time, let's say now in adolescence or in adulthood, if that would have not have happened successfully and you would have achieved the milestone appropriately. Now our second paper, it's going to be the exact same thing, but now we're going to be looking at adolescence, young or middle adulthood. So here, now it's going to be at a different time frame. So here, what are the milestones or what are the theories here that you look at that you say, okay, if I would have not met this specific milestone, or if this specific developmental issue would have not happened at this specific point, what would have then been the outcome of my behavior or the way that I would have potentially developed now later on. Now, the second way that we're going to earn points is we're going to have weekly discussion questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pose 8 different questions throughout the semester. Pretty much it's going to be one question each week. Now, with the discussion boards post, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a specific question. It's going to be your job to evaluate what that question is and to provide me with a response. Now, that response can potentially be based on something that we have read, or potentially just even an idea or a thought that may have come into your mind and you have said, okay, this is what I think that potentially relates to. So here, let's say for instance, we're talking again about language development, because again, I like language. So here we're talking about language development, and I asked the question, so what would happen in the particular case where an individual lacks language input from birth? So potentially they may have been born to deaf parents, and those parents don't sign either. So they don't sign, they don't speak or anything like that, and the child is never exposed to any linguistic input at all. What is the potential outcome that may have existed for that child now, let's say at age 3? Now, it could be based on empirical research, it could be based on the readings that we may have had, or it may be based on your personal opinion. That is okay at this point. Now, after you post your initial post, we're going to also want to have a reply to somebody else's post. So here, let's say that person A provides their post, and now person A looks at person B post and they reply back to person B. They may differ, they may coincide in terms of the way that they may have answered the question. Doesn't really matter, but that person is now going to have to respond to that other person's post, but only to one other person's post. It's not going to be required that you respond to everybody else's post, just to one other person's post. So keep that in mind. Now, each one of those initial posts is going to be due on Fridays, and your replies are going to have to be due on Sunday nights. All right. Now, third, we're going to have these journal entry submissions. We're going to have 4 journal entry submissions pretty much every other week, or just about every other week. If you look on the calendar, you'll see the specific due dates. During the journal entries, I would really like for you to reflect on some aspect of development that you've observed, currently observing, or potentially even going through, or that you observed in other individuals. So let's say, for instance, you went to the zoo, and at the zoo, you noticed that this child kept talking about the little kitty cat that was there. And you kept saying to yourself, I wonder why the child kept calling a tiger a kitty cat or a lion a kitty cat. And here, then you read something related to that in our textbook, that the child here is using over categorizations and over generalizations associated with objects. And here they have specific features that look very similar to each other, and they have these basic features in common. So thus why the child may call it a kitty cat rather than a tiger, because they've never been exposed to the term tiger or to what a tiger even looks like. So here, you can even talk about something like that in terms of your journal entries. Now, your journal entries are going to be very short. They're going to be no less than 1 page double-spaced, but no longer than 2 pages. And here, it's really just about anything that you want to talk about. You don't have to relate it to a theory. You don't have to do anything related to that. It could just be something that even comes to your mind that you say, I've always wondered why people do this. But it has to be related to the aspects associated of lifespan development. Now, last, we are going to have a final exam. We do not have a midterm exam, but we do have a final exam. Your final exam is worth 40% of your final grade, and that's going to be made up of multiple choice, short answer, or essay questions that I may come up with. More than likely, it's probably going to be about 2 or 3 long answer or essay questions that I'll give you, and that's going to be due on July 31st of 2018. So pretty much I'll open up the exam about 3 days before it's due, and that should give you enough time to be able to complete the exam. Now, in terms of attendance, this is an online course, so you're not required to log in at any point in time or do anything like that. It's completely voluntary and completely up to you, but there are going to be specific due dates and times that you do have to meet for certain assignments or for certain things that you need to be doing each week. So again, it's going to be very important for you to be able to do that in a timely fashion and make sure that you time manage appropriately. I know it's an online course, and I know what happens with online courses. It's very easy for us to get distracted and very easy for us to say, I'll do that later. And then here comes Sunday, and we may have missed deadlines or we're running out of time to be able to meet the deadline also. So here it's important for us to always make sure that we have a good time management in terms of online courses. Now, the last thing I do want to talk about here is in terms of our positive learning environment. Here, this is an online course, and with me, online courses are very, very important that we always provide a positive learning environment, not only to me as a course instructor, but also a positive learning environment for our other students. So here, for instance, let's say that somebody posts a comment up on one of the discussion boards and you don't agree with that comment in any way, shape, or form, and you feel that that person may have stepped over the line or whatever the case may be, and here you go on a rant to that person. That's a negative learning environment. If I see that somebody posts up something negative, or I see that somebody's even initial post is something that is completely out in left field and may be borderline or potentially offensive to other students, we are definitely going to have a discussion about that, and then we're going to have to go and talk to our department chair and also to the dean of students in regards to that kind of behavior. I definitely do not want it to have any type of negativity in terms of our learning environment for myself or for others. So it's going to be very important that if you do have something negative to say, don't say that at all. Rather, just ignore that. Don't give that assignment any importance on that specific week. I'd rather you get a 0 than to have to get kicked out of my class because you've been providing some very negative comments or negative feedback to myself or to other individuals in the course. All right. Now, that's really kind of about it that we're going to be talking about in terms of our course overview. Now, here again, remember, I will be posting up these mini videos that I'm going to have for you every single Monday that's going to be talking about the general issues related to the topic. And again, I will have other things for you to be completing each week. Now, also, if you scroll down to the bottom of your course syllabus, you'll find the course schedule here that I've provided for you. So here in a very, very quick 8 weeks that we're going to be doing our course, you can see everything that needs to be completed in terms of readings and other activities that we have. So for instance, for week 1, it's to look at the introduction video, and then I'm also going to have an introduction video associated with the biological beginnings. And we've already done our course syllabus review with this specific video. Now you also have to read chapter 1 and chapter 2. You're going to also have to complete discussion board number 1, which is going to be the aspects of an introduction to the course. And the question related to that is going to be, is there any questions that you have, any concerns that you have related to the course content or anything like that? And then you can see for all the subsequent weeks, we do have varied amounts of work in some particular weeks. So for instance, week 1, 2 chapters. Week 2, we have 3 chapters. Week 3, we have 2 chapters again. Week 4, we only have 1 chapter, and so on and so forth. So some weeks are going to be a little bit less than others, especially if we have like something like a paper due during that time. That's going to be a little bit more heavier in terms of our workload. And then again here, you all will notice that we do have our final exam being on July 31st. It's going to be due on July 31st by 11:59 p.m. All right. I hope everybody has a wonderful semester. I'm very much looking forward to this class. I hope you are too. And if you do have any questions or concerns, feel free to email me. That's generally the best way to get a hold of me. I generally check my email about every 5 seconds because I'm addicted to my email. But if you can't get a hold of me through email for whatever the case may be, do feel free to also use my Google number here and feel free to give me a call, and I'll answer your questions that you may have. All right, everyone, have a great semester, and we'll be in touch every week.